Good evening, Razorback Nation. We are back with episode 66 of the Hawgs on the Hill podcast, your go-to podcast for an in-depth dive onto all things Arkansas Razorbacks. We are brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the national state with pride. Found right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. Check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, you can check out the Core Brewery Tap Room, where you can get Scarlet Letter in all its various flavors, as well as their new hard teas. So go check those guys out. Well, guys, it's Wednesday after evening. I don't know about you, Hobbs. Me in Austin, it's been a wet one here in Northwest Arkansas over this past week or so. But how are we doing tonight, boys?
I'd like to tell you I stepped off the ledge since Saturday or Sunday, whenever we did that, but it hasn't yet. So I'm as well as I can be, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it rained here today, so I think it's just that time of year where you got somewhat of a cold fronts coming in. But yeah, I mean I'm only thing I can say is at least we're getting the game out of the way early Saturday.
100%. Arkansas has an 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC against Notre Dame coming to town. First time these two programs matched up. So another one of those kind of historic games. Arkansas had that earlier with Arkansas State, first time playing them. And then I've heard on the radio this week about the connection. People haven't talked too much about it because there's other things that are top of mind for Arkansas fans. But the connection between Lou Holtz, coached Arkansas, coached Notre Dame, going to be in town for the game Saturday. So that's something. But here in a little bit, we're going to have, our fellow Notre Dame Irish podcast from the College Huddle joining us to break down this game. But we talked a little bit about it on Sunday, but Hobbs, just let us know your thoughts after, Saturday's game, your thoughts on, where do we go from here? Is it time to move on? What's your thoughts on the Razorback football program?
Yeah, it's just it's very frustrating because, and I'll tell you the story how my Saturday went. So I have to work most Saturdays. So, I'm at work and, watching the game. My coworker's like, what's the score? I'm like, man, we're really dominating. We're going up and down the field on them. It's 28-10. And I left work at 28-10. He's like, oh, y'all got this. And then I come back to work on Monday, and he's like, I didn't realize Memphis won the game. How did that happen? So I'm having to explain to Mississippi folks like how we lose a game like that, because this doesn't happen to many people. Why does it happen to us? It just doesn't make any sense, and it's like two games in a row. Obviously, we didn't have that lead like that against Ole Miss, but two games in a row where your offense is just really clicking the first half. And in the second half, I don't know what it is, but it's like we go away from what's working. And I just don't really understand that very much. I felt like Taylor Green's legs should have been used more. I don't understand, like the moment that he did use his legs, he breaks away for a 60-yard touchdown that was obviously called back for holding. Which was a ridiculous call, by the way. But, it's just it's very frustrating. Now, I've been saying all along, I think Notre Dame is a very winnable game. I still feel like that, but at the same time, it's like, can the team even finish a game that's close at the end? I don't know if they can. I don't understand. And you asked me how I feel about the Arkansas state of the program. I didn't realize this was a stat, but now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Since 2020, we lead the country in fumbles of anybody in the country. Of all these teams that play football, we have the most. I don't understand that. How does that happen with all these different players that have come through the program, and we lead the nation? It's just very frustrating because it seems like we fumble in the most inopportune times. It's never a good time to fumble, but the game on the line, just close games, it's just doesn't make any sense. It's like you have to protect the football at all costs. You have to. So I don't know. Obviously, there is probably a change that's coming. I don't advocate for it being during the season unless it's towards the end of the season where you really don't have a chance to make a bowl game or anything like that. Let the coach finish the season. But yeah, I mean something's got to be different because you can't lead the nation in fumbles. You just can't do that.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get too deep in the show, I gotta have I do have a special shout out. Today is my wife's birthday, so happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
So, but yeah, to your point, I mean, and the thing for me, it's uncanny, and very much in Arkansas's irony that is the program that we lose back-to-back games in almost nearly identical fashions. Driving down the field for a game-winning drive, 2 minutes on the clock, and you fumble the ball that kind of seals the deal. Like it's so ironic. It's laughable at the point. I mean, other people around the country probably, yeah, for sure. But if you're an Arkansas fan, you're like, how does this happen the exact same way nearly 2 weeks in a row? And yeah, I think to your point, like that, I saw that stat as well, and I'm like, that really sums up, Pittman's tenure here. Has really done good things. Hadn't really got you over the hill yet. I've always compared him to me, he's football's Mike Anderson. Get you out of a bad spot that was like Pelfrey, or in this case, Chad Morris. Get you back to a decent spot as a program, but then can just never get over that hump to kind of take you that next level. And I appreciate that, but I'm to the point where it's time to go find our Eric Musselman for football. Who's going to be that next guy that can come in? All right, you got us to a semi-steady spot. Now let's take us to the next level. Make make a run. Have a 9-10 win season. Consistently. And so that's where my head goes. Is it's like that stat, and vice versa. That we talked about it earlier. Before we jumped on the show, me and Austin did, on how it's insane that Arkansas's line has been graded the best in college football through the first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you're 2-2.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's like Braylon Russell just goes out there and starts just running all over them. It was clear as day that they could not stop his 240-pound running back running downhill. And Mike Washington was struggling that game. He was running very well towards it before he fumbled in that drive. So he was running the ball well in that drive, and then he fumbled. But man, Braylon Russell, man, he was just what do you have, like 47 yards on
4 carries for 47 yards, averaging 11 yards a carry, and he gets.
We just stopped.
4.
Like, come on, man. And no, it's not Pittman that runs the office. It's Petrino. I can't believe that these and that's what frustrates me is it's been 2 straight weeks where the offense your defense is terrible. So you can't not let up. You can't. So, and we do have a weapon at kicker, regardless of him missing the 2 field goals at Ole Miss. He is a weapon. So you have to get at least in his range to get at least 3 points on the drive. You
not take a sack that knocks you out of field goal range.
You can't do that. So I don't know. And the question is now, after you lose 2 straight games like that, how do you perform when you're facing a team that has such great tradition like Notre Dame, that's also on the ropes as well, that has a season to fight for as well? So, and they have a history of winning. I mean, they were just in the national championship, so they're not going to just lay down and come in here and they're about to drop. They're gonna shoot out. So our offense is going to have to perform again. So they're gonna have to put up numbers. It is what it is.
Yeah. Josh chimes in here and he said, has this team just lost its confidence? I believe they have. And I don't know if it's a loss of confidence or a lack of effort. We talked about that on Saturday. You saw some guys that it just seemed like a lack of effort, at least on the defensive side of the ball anyway.
You mean when a quarterback drags a 400-pound man 7 yards? Are you kidding me?
Quarterback.
Yeah, are you kidding me? With the game on the line.
Yeah.
By the way, with the game on the line,
yeah,
knowing if he crosses that line, the game's over. You don't get the ball back or nothing.
Right.
That's unbelievable. As a matter of fact,
mm-hmm.
That player shouldn't play it down the rest of the year. I don't care who it is. You can't let that happen. That's inexcusable.
Yeah. Tough to watch. But, as we get ready to talk about this, Notre Dame game, we're going to welcome Brett from Irish Talk, fellow college huddle member, to bring us his perspective from the Notre Dame side. So welcome to the show, Brett. How's it going?
Hey, gentlemen. Good seeing you.
So, coming into this week, kind of similar states, I would say maybe Arkansas is a bit more intensified, but, two programs sitting in a similar spot, extremely talented, both have struggled to start the season so far. What's the thoughts around the Notre Dame program right now as you get ready to head to, Fayetteville to take on Arkansas?
Yeah, all eyes on Chris Ash, our new defensive coordinator. Last year, pretty much any defensive metric, we were considered top 5, like number 3 in SB plus, like number 2 in FB plus, like just anywhere you look, number 1 pass coverage metrics, just up and down, like any advanced metric you look at, and a big step back this year. Chris Ash came in. He was a scout for a while in the NFL, position coach. He was kind of sort of out of college football since being Rutgers head coach several years ago. He did win a national title as the defensive coordinator for Urban Meyer back at Ohio State. So has pedigree, but hasn't clicked through 3 games. And when Purdue puts up 30 points on you by really just throwing deep ball after deep ball and you don't get an answer, that's where the attention has been for Notre Dame. All that being said, there's a lot of other good. Feeling good about the offense, feel good about CJ Carr. So, a lot of positives to talk about. But when you got playoff aspirations and you start 0-2 and then still don't look like you got to figure it out on defense, I think what you guys are probably dealing with Sam Pittman, that is how we're feeling about Chris Ash right now.
Yeah, so let's just dig into this roster a little bit. Whenever we talk about X's and O's, you got to talk about the Jimmys and Joes, right? Tell us a little bit about who on your offense does Arkansas fans need to look out for?
Number 4, Jeremiah Love. Number 24, Jadarian Price. I think this is not only the 2 best, running back tandem in the country. I think they are like individually first and second, like the 2 best running backs in the country. Jeremiah Love came in with some Heisman hype. I think he actually might be getting outplayed by Jadarian Price, who had 4 touchdowns last week. His yards after contact was, I think, top 10 and like just behind Ashton Genty's last year. They're both very elusive, will break tackles. If you give them a ounce of daylight, they will take it to the house. Those are our 2 workhorses. It was pretty clear early on after the Miami game against Texas A&M, like we are going to work behind those guys. I think we're probably trying to be a little too cute, manage workload, like get everyone 10, 15 touches, like be more balanced. Last 2 weeks, it's been, nope, Jeremiah Love is going to touch the football 25 times a game. Jadarian Price is going to touch the football 15, 20 times a game. They're going to play special teams. So 4 and number 24, if they get loose, Notre Dame feels like we're in a position to win every game. If you bottle them up, it's going to be a rock fight.
Yeah, so the 2 guys you just mentioned, I mentioned them a few weeks ago when we previewed the season. Those 2 guys are really probably going to play in the NFL someday. So yeah, and you mentioned that they're the key to winning, but I really don't know if Arkansas is going to even make a stop in this game, if I'm being completely honest with you, with having to stop those two guys in the backfield. And the secondary is just awful. So if those guys get rolling, that's going to open the secondary up even more. So I'm just praying that Arkansas can even get a stop in this game. But you know,
I think it's been 6 quarters since our punter saw the field. So we've been rolling. Now that's against Purdue. I think you guys are probably going to play better defense than Purdue. I'm quite confident in that. But yeah, one nice part about our offensive coordinator, if he's got something that works, he'll keep doing it. I mean, there was a drive where we just said, okay, we're running off left guard Jadarian Price 6 times in a row. Like, they haven't stopped it yet. So if he kind of finds that Achilles heel, it's pretty dynamic where we just know to keep going at it.
Yeah, that kind of follows the lines of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, you know, if it's working, keep going back to that. And that's part of football. You know, it's like, we're going to line up here, we're going to run it down your throat and we're going to make you stop us, or we're just going to keep scoring and you know, having success there. And to Hobbs' point, that's what Saturday I think could come down to is, you know, what improvements can this defense make to potentially, I'm not going to say stop because that's not going to happen, but slow down these two guys. That's going to be the real task game plan that I'm circling. Let's make CJ Carr throw the ball and try our luck that way, because, you know, that's probably what Arkansas has, you know, to hope for when it comes to defensively on Saturday.
For sure. And, you know, CJ Carr, pretty compelling 3 games of film so far. He's looked really good. He has not been the reason Notre Dame's 1-2 whatsoever. If anything, I think they kind of had the training wheels on and tried to do a lot of easy short screens to just work them into that Miami game. I think looking back, that was a mistake. We've now opened up the playbook. Denbrock, our offensive coordinator, was joking this week. We might not let him take out the Ferrari all the time, but like, we're giving him the keys. And I think that's going to make Notre Dame fans feel better that we're not going to get too conservative. But look, he's a redshirt freshman. There's a reason he was struggling to actually win the job in fall camp. I think it's shocking looking back for Notre Dame fans that CJ Carr was kind of not for sure going to be the starter because the defense was outplaying him in pass coverage. You look at how the season started, we can't cover anybody on defense, and CJ Carr is lighting it up. So what does fall camp tell you? Not much. But couple things where there's probably some weaknesses. We don't have that bona fide number 1 wide receiver. I think the better cornerbacks, the better secondaries are going to be able to bottle us up. We've got some guys for sure, but there's not that kind of, he's for sure going to go get his. And then his blindside tackle, Anthony Knapp, is a sophomore. The coaching staff swears by him, loves him. He has been very prone to getting beat. That's led to just a lot of pressure for Carr that he's handled pretty well, but he's had a turnover in every game this year, 2 interceptions and a fumble lost. And so I think some combination of if we don't protect Carr, if we don't avoid that turnover game and you're in a shootout, that gets me a little nervous of that, poorly timed penalty or poorly timed turnover in the 3rd, 4th quarter when it's kind of last team with the ball wins. I think that's something that Notre Dame fans are probably, thinking, gosh, we got to clean that up because it's been dogging us here these first few games.
Yeah, Arkansas fans know exactly what you're talking about. Painfully so, know exactly what you're talking about. I do want to flip the script a little bit. You talked about Love and Price, great running backs. Arkansas's got a pair of their own, plus a quarterback that can really, really take it off. I mean, right now we've got 2 rushers with over 330 yards. And that's not counting our second running back, who's a 235-pound tank in Braylon Russell. I know Notre Dame's defense has done a pretty good job over the last 3 games, but do you think they'll have a little bit more trouble dealing with Arkansas's backfield, especially since you have that added zone, read option plays like that? Do you think that's going to cause them any trouble or what?
I think going into the year, we felt pretty darn good about our secondary, and not so good about our front seven. But and really more just because of who we lost and kind of a lot of new faces. I'd have said the run game was probably out of the two our weakness last year, albeit still a strength. They've been pretty darn dominant against some good running football teams this year. I think Texas A&M has one of the best offensive lines in the country. They've got a mobile quarterback in Marcel Reed. They've got, I think, a really good SEC running back in Le'Veon Moss. We bottled that run game up pretty well, held them to 128 yards rushing, and really met them at the line of scrimmage. They were only getting about a yard and a half before contact, so we were winning in the trenches. Now, the flip side is Marcel Reed, lit us up for 300-plus yards passing. But even it's Purdue, so please take this with a grain of salt. They had negative yards before contact running the football last week. They ran it 25 times, like they didn't give up on it, and we were just consistently hitting them in the backfield for either -1, 0, 1, 2 yard gains. So maybe like that, I think that's always a concern, especially when our defense, I think, needs to start making adjustments. I think we need to start thinking more coverage, less aggressive. I don't think we can always be keeping 6, 7 guys in the box like we maybe want to control the line of scrimmage. I think that's where this could open up, is if Notre Dame feels like we have to play a more coverage conservative defense to protect our secondary. I think that's where I could see Arkansas's run game getting going. But at least so far through a few games, we've held up pretty darn well against the run.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, has been Arkansas' strong suit, this season, not to mention Talon being better in terms of his passing ability and progressions, but, that ability that he has to, that RPO, that zone read option, being able to break it outside, but one of the underrated things I've heard people talk about with Talon, and I agree, is you see him on plays whenever, it's one of those option type of plays, just how late and how quick he can, make that snap decision to take the ball himself. And, he holds it in the running back's gut as late as he possibly can, and then takes it and pops it outside. And, that I think surprised a lot of people this year. And a lot of people want to see, maybe these running backs get a little bit more work and, be your leading rushers. But, that, to your point, it's going to be offensively, in a sense, pick your poison, I feel like, because, what would you rather deal with? This trio of rushers, or like you said, to help your your defense, do you back off into a little bit more coverage and force these guys to run? Or, like you said, if you're bringing a lot of pressure trying to stop the run, Talon Green goes through his progressions, hits his receivers, Omega Blake, Raylan Sharp, guys like that, even a Rohan Jones that's, notorious for big plays so far this season. That's going to be the interesting, I think, chess match that we'll see between, Notre Dame defense and Bobby Petrino calling the offense here.
Yeah, and I think one of the sneaky big matchups in this game is the speed of our linebackers, and if that can disrupt Jalen Green. We've got a couple guys, Jay Nosberry and Jalen Sneed, that are like 4.5, pushing 4.4 type speed at linebacker. Kingston Filiamuasa didn't play a lot last year, but he's really starting to step into his own and get a lot of playing time. Just some athletic dudes there at linebacker. And look, mobile quarterbacks always terrify me, right? Like when those guys get going and, it just opens up the field so much. We experienced that with Riley Leonard last year, like just such a weapon and so hard to defend. If you're hearing Sneed and Osbury because they're missing tackles or Green's getting outside of them and they're not staying contained, it's going to be a long day for Notre Dame. It's going to be a long day for us. If you're hearing, they're staying contained and they're getting them down for 3, 4, 5 yard carries, I think that'll be advantage Irish and those guys, to me, haven't been tested that much. Like Carson Beck, kind of a pocket passer. Marcel Reed, real mobile, but not necessarily like an RPO type, design run guy. I think this is probably Notre Dame's first game this year with a true like design run type quarterback, looking to use his legs even before using his arms in a lot of situations. I think that's going to be a new challenge for us. And I think if our linebackers hold up, it'll be a big part of this, reason why Notre Dame wins or loses this one.
I got a two-parter for you. So one, if you can get past Arkansas this weekend, how do you like Notre Dame's chances to get back into the playoffs with their remaining schedule? And then the second part would be, as a fan, if Notre Dame had to join a conference right now, which conference would you want them to join?
Both good questions, Hobbs. I like it. So I actually think Arkansas is the game on my schedule I'm most worried about right now. And I know y'all might not be feeling that way when your coach is on the hot seat, but you look at like some advanced stats like SP Plus, they've got this actually closer to like, a coin flip game or maybe even 1 or 2 points to you guys, just because I think our secondary is just not held up here through 3 games. I think if we get through this one, we've got a pretty favorable home and away slate from here. So we've got USC at home. That's always advantage Notre Dame. We just play that rival really, really well when we got them in South Bend. We've got Boise State at home. And I just look the rest of the way. I don't think there's a defense that's going to slow us down. So I never say never, but I think if we get past Arkansas, I think it's a 50-50 we run the table. And if we run the table and we're 10-2 and our only 2 losses were, at the last play of the game, first 2 weeks of the season, like Feinbaum can say whatever he wants to on ESPN. Like that's a playoff resume. I'm not saying we're top 4 seed. I'm not even saying we're hosting, but that team's getting in. Right. I probably got it as a coin flip. Interestingly, on the conference, I'm a minority of Notre Dame fans that actually thinks we should join a conference. I think that's probably the only reason why we don't have 10,000 followers. If I would just say independent more often, I think we're going to have more people watch the show. But if you go back to why Notre Dame was independent, we had our first ever national radio contract before anyone else did, if you go way back in the day. Then we had the first ever national TV contract with NBC. That let us make more money, play national schedules, and recruit nationally. Mm-hmm. So it's better scheduling, better recruiting, make more money. I would argue we've held in there on scheduling. Like we generally have top 25 schedules. You see us, schedule Miami and Arkansas and A&M. Like that's a tough slate to start the year. I think we're holding up on recruiting. In fact, I think Freeman has our recruiting in as good a spot as ever. We're losing on money though. Like we are now not making as much money in our NBC deal as the Big Ten and SEC. And so if Notre Dame ever joins a conference, to me, it's about money. It's not about scheduling. It's not about rivalries. It's not about recruiting. And to me, the no-brainer then is the Big Ten. I know SEC makes a little bit more, but you've got USC, Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State. A bunch of our historic rivals are in that conference. I think a lot of people think ACC because we have that relationship now in our other sports, but the economics just aren't there. And our rivals aren't there. And so I think if we ever join a conference, it's pretty naturally Big Ten. If you ask the administration, though, like that has that relationship with the ACC, makes me nervous that like they're thinking like, just keep going with the easy thing. But the economics to me just says you got to go Big Ten all day long.
Yeah, makes sense. In thinking about it, question I had, I just thought about it because I saw I remembered it's something I saw earlier this week was, what is the status of a couple of guys in your secondary that I don't remember names, but they were questionable for this game? What is it looking like? Does it look like they might play, might not? Have you heard anything?
Yeah. So one interesting part about Marcus Freeman, for all of the flack that people want to give Brian Kelly and for his horrible relationships with the media, Brian Kelly was very open. He was open about injury reports. He was open about access to practice. Freeman's completely cut that down. So they've been crickets. But it was a big storyline in that last game. Leonard Moore, All-American corner, expected preseason All-American corner for us. Just an absolute lockdown stud. Like if he's on the field, you just know, like we don't have to cover one side of the field. Now that should be telling that Leonard Moore didn't give up anything against Miami and A&M, and we still got torched on the other side of the field. Not great. And then Devontae Smith, Alabama transfer. He's our nickel starter. He sprained his ankle in warmups before A&M. Didn't play in that game. Didn't play in Purdue either. So it's kind of unclear. Like, did we hold him out because Purdue's just a mismatch? I think that's generally what people think, that it was more precautionary, just given how heavily favored we were against Purdue. But Devontae Smith's backup, combination of Carson Hobbs and a true freshman, either Golden or Zachary, two different guys we've run out there, have just really shown their inexperience. They've been really susceptible to getting beat. Leonard Moore's replacement was a rotation of those three guys last week and just didn't hold up well in the deep ball. So if those guys, Leonard Moore and Devontae Smith, are playing on Saturday, I think that's a huge, huge boost for Notre Dame's defense. If Leonard Moore is out, man, this thing might be 60 to 63. Like, just hang on to your hats, because it's going to be a shootout if Leonard Moore is not on the field.
So this is the first time in history either programs played each other, right? I'm a big history dude, so I really like that fact. But there are a couple things that tie Notre Dame, and Arkansas going into this game. The first one's obviously Lou Holtz. Both, great coach for both. First, I guess, just tell me a little bit about him, and then secondly, we have a kid who played for Arkansas last year. It didn't really end well, so and I see that he's only got three receptions for 19 yards. Tell us a little bit about Ty Washington and how he's progressed as he's been in South Bend.
Yeah, Ty Washington's someone we thought we were going to see on the field more. Guy ahead of him on the depth chart, Eli Raridan, big time, like borderline 5-star, high end 4-star recruit, highly touted, was expected to be the next, Mike Mayer or Cole Kmet or Kyle Rudolph. Like, just Eli Raridan was going to be that guy. And he's had a couple of really big injuries, tore an ACL. And so he's finally fully rehabbing back from that, but just kind of figured this is going to be a position group where we're going to just need more bodies. And they just haven't taken Raridan off the field. They've really just said, he's our guy. He's playing really well. He's grading out well. He's blocking well. And so Eli Raridan's just locked down that spot and, literally didn't miss a snap in the Miami game. I think the first time Ty Washington got on the field was like fourth quarter against Texas A&M to give Raridan a breather. So we don't know a lot about Ty Washington other than know he's a good run blocker, know the coaching staff really liked him in goal line situations in the summer. But I think it's actually more the other guys locked down that spot more than anything Washington's been doing. But you're right, until really garbage time in the Purdue game, haven't seen him getting a lot of action. Lou Holtz, look, there's a statue for the guy at Notre Dame Stadium, very beloved. Someone every Notre Dame fan has tracked for that national title back in '88. I always think one of the interesting things is why he left. Like, Notre Dame was in such a good place in '93, '94. We played in the game of the century against Florida State and Bobby Bowden, and it just felt like, all right, we're rolling. And it's never come out officially. It's always felt like he kind of had friction with Notre Dame over, can we open up the aperture on who do we recruit from an admissions perspective, from academics perspective? Always felt like the same stuff now, right? Like facilities and dollars and going into the program. And I think, he was feeling that frustration of wanting Notre Dame to kind of perennially compete as programs started investing in football in the 90s. I don't know if that's why he left or not, but it feels like that's eventually what kind of led to him leaving, but still on really good terms. I mean, you're just not going to hear a negative thing about Lou Holtz on Notre Dame's campus. And a guy, I think he was actually back at the A&M game in the press box, so still stays very involved. I think it's one of the things we've really loved about Marcus Freeman. He's embraced alumni, both players and coaches, in a big way. Like, he wants Lou Holtz talking to the team. He wants Jerome Bettis on the sidelines. Like, he wants Brady Quinn calling CJ Carr to like help mentor him. Brian Kelly was just kind of like, I got it. Like, this is my show. I got it. And so I think it's been great seeing Lou Holtz around campus a lot more here in the Freeman era. I think something that gets Notre Dame fans excited.
Well, he will be in Fayetteville this weekend too, by the way. Just I know they've had him on the radio show a couple of times. So
good to know.
Yeah. So, thinking about it, as we're just a handful of days away. Do you feel yourself leaning one way or the other, going into this game? We talked about it earlier, from Sunday to today, the spread for the game has just shrunk. Start off about 7.5 all the way down to 4.5, 4, even 3.5, depending on where you look at, and you talked about it being, some places saying this is a coin flip game. Coming into Saturday, what's your feeling? Do you think they come in on the road, take care of business, and get the season back on track, or could it be another game where you see your defense struggle, and that makes it a nail biter, like you said, that hang your hats, let's go, it's going to be fast and furious all the way?
Yeah, I just don't see Notre Dame showing up like we are the defense that we were last year. Like in August, if you'd have said, does Notre Dame give up more than 21 points in a game all year, I'd have said, gosh, maybe USC, but I don't think so. And that's just not the defense we've had. And can we get there over time? Can some of the young guys develop? Can we learn the new coordinator scheme better and figure out, adjustments? Yes. In this 1 week, man, like that'd be a miracle. Like, could it happen? Yeah, but I'm not feeling that way. Like, I just don't see us holding Taylor Green under 30 points. And I also, on the flip side, don't see you guys holding us under 30 either. I feel good about Freeman just as a coach, and I trust he figures out adjustments. He figures out situational football. Like, I've seen him out coach James Franklin. I've seen him out coach Kirby Smart. Like, I've seen him hang in there, very outmatched against Ohio State last year. I've seen him go toe-to-toe with Dabo 3-4 times now. Like, I just feel like in a close game, I like my chances with Freeman. I know we lost 2 close games this year, but I mean, just the fact we got back in that Miami game, I feel good about Marcus Freeman in those close games and figuring out one more adjustment, one more play, one more whatever it takes to get there. But I don't know. That's a 60-40 lean. Like, there's nothing about this game. Do I think Notre Dame's going to go win by 20? Like, I think this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think the biggest thing that moved in Vegas was the over-under opened up at 58, and I think it's already up to like 65, 66. I think we should hold on to our hats and expect a high-scoring shootout here, and it could come down to just who has the ball last.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, as we kind of get ready to let Brett go, do you guys have anything else for him before we kind of wrap up this portion of the show?
You kind of did it to us on your podcast. Just go Hawgs.
Good luck this weekend, guys. I hope it's a fun game and hope it's a good one. And certainly best of luck rest of the way.
So before you get out of here, you know, let everybody know where they can find you at if they want to go get in touch with all their Notre Dame needs, sports needs. Where can they find you at?
Absolutely. Irish Talk, G''Irish. It's as if you've had a few too many drinks and you're trying to say go Irish. We're on X, we're on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, wherever you find your podcasts. We're on YouTube. Look up Irish Talk and we'll be there.
Well, Brett, we appreciate you taking time to join the show. It should be a fun game Saturday, maybe to some people. I know probably both fan bases are going to be sweating this one out, Arkansas especially. I can't wait for Saturday and see what happens in this game. But, you know, once again, we appreciate you jumping on the show. And, you know, best of luck to you guys. And, you know, like Austin said, go Hawgs.
Awesome. Great being on the show, guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate it, Brett.
Yep.
That was Brett from Irish Talk. That's how you say it. We were talking about it earlier, Austin. Good to know. But yeah, I mean, after that, I don't know. I don't know if that necessarily changed my stance on this game. It's another one of those where it's like Austin said, it would be an Arkansas thing to go out there and win it. But am I necessarily going to pick them? Probably not. It's just one of those things where the confidence is in the toilet. All the things flying around, with this program, with is Pittman getting fired, is Juracek getting fired, all this fun stuff. It's going to be fun to say, but it's like Pigpen says here, which is historically true for Arkansas. We played down to Memphis, so hopefully we play up to Notre Dame. No excuses. I agree, but will we get that? It will. It is yet to be determined.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, man. It's so hard to gauge this game. It's so hard to gauge this team. To be honest with you, they just whenever they are doing something good and you talk about it, they end up doing it bad. And we saw that against Memphis, and they just didn't play good. They didn't play with effort. They didn't play with intensity. And they got beat for it. Hopefully, with the hype that's going around this team, this game, or not really this week, but before the season started, everyone was gearing up for this game. Hey, we may be 4-0 going into this game against Notre Dame, and they might be 3-0 going into this game, and then college football, college game day might be in Fayetteville, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And then ends up both teams aren't doing good at all. Just crazy timeline. And I want to talk about something. John Neighbors put out a little, I guess, how are you feeling about games going forward? And he didn't have any of them in the win column, but he had Notre Dame in Texas in the maybe wins, like if things go right, and then everything else is a loss. And I kind of agree with him on it too. And I think Mississippi State was over there. Like if you'd have said that at the beginning of the season, like that's just crazy because Texas is in the college football playoffs. Notre Dame was in the national championship, and then it just completely flip flops. And that's kind of like the parity that you're finding in college football nowadays with the transfer portal and everything. So it's kind of actually working the way it's supposed to. Just Arkansas hasn't benefited out of it. And I know one little bit on a tangent to talk about how I just don't know what's going to happen in this game, but that's kind of the basis of it. We have so many transfers on this team. Like Brett was saying, they have a new defensive coordinator who obviously isn't doing very well. It could be anything. We could, you know what? It may be 63-60. It may be 20-17 because I give up trying to figure out this team or how they're going to perform.
But you know what? It's still a stripe-out game.
Yes, it is. Texas, Tennessee, beat both of them. I don't know about the other ones because I forgot about them.
Yeah, I just don't know if we don't have a lead late in the game, they're just going to run the ball and run the clock out. I don't see us stopping their running game. So you're going to have to jump out on them. I don't know. I don't see where we get any stops really because when I get excited about getting a stop, a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 7 comes up, all of a sudden it's just bam, easy first down, 15, 20 yard play. So it's very hard for me to what was that stat? What are we ranked on 3rd downs? It's not good. So on defense, I'm talking about. So that worries me because it's just I've seen that Notre Dame quarterback play. He's not bad either. So I don't know. How we're going to end up winning this one.
Well, you mentioned
we are 116th.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and you mentioned that stat on 3rd down. Austin and I talked about it on Saturday how, up until Saturday, Arkansas has been one of the better teams in the country on 3rd down. And to his point earlier, we looked like idiots because, we're sitting down there midway through the 3rd quarter, and Arkansas is 0 of 4 on 3rd downs. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what are we doing? To your point, maybe we should try the opposite, having leads throughout games has not been great for us. Maybe we need to, go in the game late in the fourth quarter trailing, and maybe we can figure out a way to win it instead of, having to, go into the game with a lead at halftime and then coming out and just, that Ferrari looks like a Ford Pinto in the second half.
Yeah. I hope that's what it is, because we talk about how Bobby Trino is, offensive genius, and it's him not being able to come out of halftime with adjustments, or like not even adjustments, because you can't really adjust whenever you're out there and you're scoring at will, basically getting 28 points in a half, every single game for the first 4. But it's anticipating what they're going to adjust for and then making adjustments from there. That's where they need to be. It's a chess match, right? You got to be one step ahead of what your opponent's going to be. And I don't know if they've just been so comfortable in that first half that they don't really think about that. You couldn't have done it against the last 2 teams, and it showed. You definitely can't do it against this Notre Dame team.
Right. Pigpen puts a good comment up here. I honed in on this in his press conference, and I thought it was interesting. Pittman coming out and talking about, when he's talking about the game in Memphis, he is like, well, it was kind of hot Saturday. Okay, what are you talking about? And he mentioned how, they haven't really practiced outside and this and that, and it's like, what are we even doing? Like you're blaming. Part of it is that it was hot outside Saturday. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that. And then everybody's got to go dig up that freaking popsicle video from the summer.
Yep.
First of all, every team does that, okay? Not every team puts it on video and puts it out, and then a few months later, their coach comes in and talks about how hot it is. That doesn't happen a lot, but every team does something like that, okay? Stop. You guys are making stuff out of nothing. There is enough to go around to be mad about other than manufacturing crap like that from a few months ago. That just bugs me. Like, be mad about the stuff that matters. Don't be mad about that junk, okay? Secondly, it is the same temperature in Memphis that it is in Northwest Arkansas. Like, they are the same, what is it, longitude of the planet? That's where they are. It's going to be the same temperature. Like, why aren't you preparing for that? Right? It's going to be, I don't know. That just bugs me. That bugs the crap out of me. At the same time, are they on turf? Liberty Bowl has turf, doesn't it? I don't know.
Sure.
Well, if it has turf, it's going to be significantly hotter too.
Right.
At the same time, I mean, I don't know, man. It just rubs me the wrong way. It shouldn't have been an issue. It shouldn't have been an issue whatsoever.
Well, you played at night against Ole Miss, and you still couldn't stop them. So,
Well, at least Ole Miss has an offense that, is actually good. Memphis, they had a running game that Arkansas just couldn't catch them.
I was about to say, you made the Memphis quarterback look like he, much better than what he was. Like,
we just can't tackle. We cannot tackle. It looks all god awful.
Too much of this trying to arm tackle stuff. It's like wrap up and take the guy to the ground. And can we please not break contain when you have a quarterback in the pocket and you're like too many times between Ole Miss and Memphis, you're like, I'm looking at this. I'm like, you got the sack right here. And we just break contain and quarterback, runs down the field for, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards or gets out of the pocket and makes a fantastic throw down the field. Like, why can we not seem like we're getting the pressure there? Keep contained and get the sack. Like, how hard is it to ask? And like, even guys to stay on their feet. There was one time that Memphis's quarterback, I swear he dodged at least like 5 different tackles that we should have had him in the backfield like 3 or 4 times. And our guys are just, jumping by him, trying to arm tackle. And it's insanely frustrating. It's like, just wrap up, make the tackle, fundamental football, please.
Here's the thing. Like we talked about it earlier with Brett, but Arkansas leads the SEC in pressures. They just are number 8 in sacks. So they're getting there. They're just not getting the sacks. This game is the first time all season that Arkansas has played a quarterback that's not so mobile, right? So I haven't even thought about that until just this moment, but Arkansas's defensive line may have a better game, at least getting to the quarterback against Notre Dame than they have all season. At the same time, Notre Dame's offensive line's probably, I would say the best they played this season too. So it just depends. I mean, we'll see. It's kind of, I hate to say it, but that is a strength of Arkansas's defense, is getting to the quarterback. It's just not getting sacked.
One could hope that would be the case on Saturday. Pigpen jumps in here and says, defense thinks too much pre-snap. The hardest part of the week should be practice. They should see everything, even hypotheticals during practice. Games should be easier. Exactly. And that's part of what we talked about. This team seems to struggle, pre-snap, knowing locations. Austin's point earlier, you got to make sure you know your gaps. And schematically, it just seems like this team is lost. And I don't know if that comes from just the amount of new guys you have on this team and, they struggle with the playbook, or, are they just quite physically not in the right spots and that's causing issues? But, this is probably one of the worst defenses I've seen in a while from a Travis Williams coach defense. We talked about when he came in here, we've seen progressive improvement year after year in terms of defensive performance. And it seems like that just went off a cliff this year. And it perplexes me to try and figure out what it is. Is there going to be a game this season that this all seems to click? Who knows? But, at this point, it's hard to even tell. And until we see a game like that, I'm going to question this defense probably every week because, like Hobbs said, I just don't know if we can stop them, and especially a running game like, Notre Dame has, where they can sub one guy out and run the next guy in, and there's not much of a drop off. And, the way that Sutton Smith carved up this Arkansas defense on Saturday, like, there's your game plan right there. Take a look at that tape, and you got all your answers right there.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Hobbs, and I guess Brett. I don't see Arkansas stopping Price and Love. I mean, they're really good. Really, really good. And I mean, Arkansas was destroying our number 1 defense in spring and in the fall camp. So I don't see it. I don't see Arkansas stopping them hardly ever. Now, at the same time, Arkansas has caught fire a couple times in certain drives. And if Arkansas's offense plays to their potential, all you need is a couple drives to be stopped. If you see Notre Dame's punter go out there once or twice, it gives Arkansas a puncher's chance. And it's going to be like that for the rest of the season. But that also means that your heart's going to be pumping out of your chest every single game. There's not going to be one single game where you're like, oh, this is good, we're going to be all right. No, that's over. That was over against Arkansas State. Done with.
Yeah, go pick up your heart medication each and every week.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, we're 2 fumbles away from being 4-0. So
exactly.
We've had the chance to be undefeated with the offense with the ball, and I keep hearing, oh, it's going to be the team with the ball last. No, I'm done. I'm done with that.
Right. At this point, that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen 50% of the time this season that hasn't mattered. You can still have the ball last, and then you give it to the team, and it's done.
Turn it over. Yeah, just give it away.
And what's crazy to me, at least in the Ole Miss game, you didn't have a single turnover the entire game until that moment. And then we talked about it, with Memphis Spence last week, is where, he mentioned one of the only ways he sees Memphis getting the win was if they win the turnover margin and have it and force at least 3 turnovers. What did they do? They won the turnover margin and forced 3 turnovers.
And that's another problem with this defense. We can't get turnovers. We're not getting. They're not doing anything like good. You know, it'd be different if they're giving up all these yards and points and they're turning the ball over every now and then. But I mean, we've had maybe an interception here or there. We're not getting any kind of punch outs or anything like that. There's nothing good's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I think
go ahead.
I don't know. I was just gonna say I think most of the problem against Memphis was effort, and I think they just simplified the defense a little bit, made it a little bit easier. It was just mostly effort, because there were hardly times where the defense was out of place enough to have those big chunk plays, except for the fact that they weren't being they weren't hustling, they weren't going as fast as they can. Especially that last touchdown right there in the fourth quarter that put Memphis on top. That's, if you go back and watch it, you especially watch the backside of the defense. They're jogging. There's like 4 or 5 guys jogging. If you fix that this game, you're gonna have a better chance at having those stops. I'm just saying, like, I think if they can go out there and play with intensity, they're gonna be in better position than they have been in the 3 games prior. So I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they won't screw up here and there. I'm not even saying they'll get, completely shut them out, but I think they can get 1 or 2 stops.
Yeah. And, it'll be interesting to see with this game and, what ensues after, like we said, not necessarily calling, for anybody's job, but, after last week, the pressure's up to 10. You come in this game, you win this game, maybe that gets you, through the rest of the season. You lose this game, if it's close, who knows? If you get blown out and run out of your own stadium, who knows? But, I've heard people talk about, and, you talk about, you have next week's a bye week.
Thank God.
Where I'm going with that is, what do you think, depending on the results Saturday, I mean, there's an opportune time if Arkansas wanted to make a move midseason. You give whoever is going to be interim, more than likely Bobby, 2 weeks to kind of shift in interim mode and, prep the team. So, like, I don't know. But then on the flip side of it, we talked about through some scenarios earlier, on Sunday, was how, the buyout scenario. All right. Since 2021, I believe it is, Pittman's 29 and 26. And if his buyout's $10 million, if he stays above 500, he drops below that 500 mark. It drops down to $6.9 million, I believe it was. And so you save $3.1 million if you let him stay on and lose, 4 more games. So it's like, what path do you take if, you're this Arkansas, athletic department, and I'm going to put an asterisk on Yurichek, because I think he would be part of this that would be gone as well. As like, all right, what do you look at as a better opportunity? Head coach or head start in the coaching search, or lower buyout?
Well, I the buyout's not going to be a problem. Everywhere that I've read, everything that I've heard is that the money's not an issue. Like, that's not going to stop them if they think it's necessary. What I'm thinking is that they're waiting for this game. And if Sam Pittman can win, or play really, really close and not have some kind of stupid fumble, blah, blah, blah. If they go out there and they just beat Arkansas, even though it was a highly, competitive game, I imagine he's going to stay. Now, if Arkansas gets destroyed, or you have some stupid mistake like they have in the past, I don't know if he makes it to Monday. I don't know if he'll make it off the field as the head coach of Arkansas. I hope they at least give him the decency of, waiting until he gets off and has a day or whatever. But at the same time, I don't know. I think I keep going back and forth about letting him go in the middle of the season. But if you're going to let him go, it's definitely a bye week. So this is a crucial moment for Sam Pittman. And like you said, I don't know about Hunter Yurachek, but I would have to imagine he goes too. Right. And if they do that and they have an interim coach for the rest of the season, they have time to go go hire an AD who can then do a coaching search. And if we talk about the last time we had the worst coaching search or the worst coaching hire in Arkansas history, what happened? We had an AD that was fired right before Chad Morris was hired. So, like, we can blame Hunter Yurachek for a lot of things. That's not something we can blame him on.
Right.
Right. And you don't want that kind of situation to happen again. You want an AD who's going to be here, who knows that his job is pretty much riding on how well this next hire works out.
Right. And it's like Pigpen says here, I don't necessarily want Yurachek making the next hire. Some people want to say, oh, but what about Cal? Yurachek had diddly squat to do with hiring Cal. That was all one Mr. John Tyson that called up Cal, and he also called Yurachek and said, hey, go talk to him. It wasn't Yurachek saying, oh, let me go see if Cal might be interested. I know him and John Tyson have a good relationship. No, it was the other way around. So, you can't even credit the Cal hire necessarily to Yurachek either. So it's like, I mean, and I feel like he just kind of dug the hole deeper for himself after his comments last week that we talked about Arkansas not being set up for, national championship. You can't come out and say that. And if you do say that, at least come out with, all right,
a plan.
Phrase it this way. Arkansas is not set up to win a national title right now, but here's what we're going to do. X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to, do it. But that wasn't the case. You just like, oh, we're not going to do it. And then, a few days later, oh, buy this big red Bluetooth speaker for $140 for NIL or Arkansas Edge.
Right. Yeah. The timing is just horrible. We've talked about it enough. It's, a moot point by now, but just the timing of everything has just been the worst.
Sorry, I wasn't meaning to be redundant.
Yeah.
No, I must be in the minority here, so because I'm not sure Yurachek gets fired here. I really not sure. Because seriously, like when you think about this, Austin, if you're at work and your job is the athletic director, right, and you have all these responsibilities, athletic director, which means you're over the entire sports for the campus, and they come to you and say, you know what, we're going to have to let you go because football is not doing very well. But every other sport on campus, literally every other sport, is performing at a high rate. So
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I got to stop you. They are not here to build a great athletic program by itself. They are here to make the athletic program money. And what sport does that? Football.
Right.
And if football isn't good, then they're not making as much money as they can be. Therefore, the other sports are going to suffer. Before, sooner or later, the other sports are going to suffer when Arkansas is not doing good and the fans stop coming and they start losing money. So that's what it is. And yeah. I can tell you all those rumblings about Sam Pittman that I've been talking about. I hear him about Hunter Yurachek too. So.
Yeah, I don't know if we see that. I really don't. I think it's it's people being emotional right now. I'm not really sure if it happens, but I'm not really sure if that's really, and what he said the other day, he really wasn't lying about it either. And it may have been a plea of, hey, can somebody help us, please, with money? Yeah. If you want a good coach, if you want a program to get better, you have to pay the money. I mean, you look at the top 8 teams that were in that were the top 8 teams that won the transfer portal this past offseason because they were willing to give out the money. They're all undefeated right now. So it's money talks, and college football. You have to to get your checkbook out to win games. It's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing this weekend's gonna, the results are gonna be interesting to what ensues afterwards. Win, loss, blowout, whatever you want to call it, whatever happens this weekend, the ensuing results in the next few weeks will be interesting to see the late, see. And so 11 a.m. Saturday, early kickoff ABC once again. Tune in if you want to. If you don't want to, I don't blame you either. I'll be there, but I would love for a Razorback win. But it's gotten really tough over the past few weeks and the years and stuff. So with that, let's jump over to our college pick'em and see if we can continue this on in terms of our pick'em contest, where to give you guys a quick update, I'm still leading the way at 22-18. Austin's right there at 21-19, and Hobbs as well at 19-21. So all still pretty close, relatively close. 3 games in between, the 3 of us. So as we jump into this week's pick'em, first game on our docket is the USC Trojans headed to Champaign, Illinois, to take on the Fighting Illini. Illinois coming off that, honestly, beat down from Indiana.
Yeah.
USC coming off a win against Michigan State. USC undefeated. Illinois 3-1. Spread for this game is 6.5 in USC's favor. They're the number 1 scoring offense or yardage offense in the country. So what are your guys' thoughts? This is a home game for Illinois, but do they have it in them to bounce back after, that loss last week?
Man, I don't know. I really, really want to pick Illinois, but I don't think I can after that. I think they'll bounce back a little bit. I think it'll be a good game. But I'm probably going to have to go to the Trojans. I think the Trojans I think USC just has a better offense than Indiana. To be honest with you, I'm not too high on Indiana to begin with. But I was really impressed with how they beat down Illinois. So I'm going to go with USC.
Yeah, I mean, everything tells you in your mind, pick USC, right? Illinois just got the brakes beat off of them, and USC's 4-0. Everything tells you, but it's just one of them things where it's just like, I don't know. College football is a weird game, and it just seems like Illinois, to me, is probably going to put up a better fight, and they're at home, so that's why I'm picking them.
All right, split decision here. I'm going to take USC in this one. It's one of those things. This is going to be an interesting competition for Illinois. Can they have a bounce back game, or is that going to be kind of the start of where their season, their struggles? I mean, we've talked about the blueprints out there on what Indiana did, and so can Bielema get this team rally back and bounce back in a performance at home in front of their home crowd on Fox? So I'm going to take the USC, and, we'll see what Bielema does with this squad, and can they bounce back. This next one will be really fun. It's your very own Arkansas Razorbacks taking on Notre Dame.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I think, my official prediction is going to be Notre Dame. But for this, I'm going to go Hawgs, because I just can't not pick them. Whenever I'm competing against somebody, it just makes me feel bad. If I'm giving a legit one where I'm telling everybody else my opinion, I'm going to do it right. But I just can't pick against the Hawgs with this. Besides, I talked about how I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. So I'm going to be in the minority here probably and pick Arkansas.
Listen, man, I've been saying for a month now that and longer than that we can beat Notre Dame. And I still feel that way, but we could be winning the whole game and something's going to happen. So I don't know. But, I mean, I'm picking Arkansas because this is an Arkansas show, and I don't pick against Arkansas. I'm going to pick them every day of the week. But God help us.
Agreed. Arkansas across the board. Same sentiment as you guys. I can't pick against us. It's like, if I'm going off statistics and everything, yes, part of me tells me to go to Notre Dame, but, this is an Arkansas show. Some homerism here, love for the Hogs, hoping they can pull it off. So, yeah, hopefully we're all talking about a W, but, we could all be looking at an L with this game. So it's going to be a fun Saturday. Next matchup we're going to be looking at is the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers are headed to Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Both teams with one loss. Rutgers 3-1, Minnesota 2-1. Rutgers coming off a loss to Iowa 38-28. Minnesota coming off that loss to Cal 27-14. Spread for this game 4.5 for Minnesota, the home team. Who you guys got?
I don't know, man. They got me with the Cal. I didn't think Cal was going to beat them like that. But I guess I'm just glutton for punishment, so I'm going to go with Minnesota again.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of them. Like, hey, let's just pick a team and we'll see what happens. I mean, it's thank God it's 11 o'clock. I wouldn't watch that game if it was being played outside right here. So, Minnesota. Sorry,
I was about to say, who's your pick? Yeah, Minnesota. They've got the but Arkansas kid and Drake Lindsay. Both teams, other than their two losses, not a ton of competition to go off based of who they played. So yeah, give me Minnesota in this one, the home team. Let's see what the Arkansas kid can do.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the UCF Knights headed to Manhattan, the Little Apple, to take on the Kansas State Wildcats. Kansas State 1-3, UCF 3-0. Kansas State coming off back-to-back losses versus Army and Arizona. UCF coming off of 3 straight wins, most recently a 34-9 victory over North Carolina. Spread for this game sitting at 6.5 for Kansas State being a home game. Can the Knights go in there and continue this disastrous season that Kansas State's had so far?
Yeah, I'm going to go probably UCF just because of how well they've done. I mean, Kansas State got beat by Army. They barely beat North Dakota. This is how you know that Iowa State isn't good, because they just barely beat Kansas in Ireland. So, I'm going to go UCF with this one.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that Kansas State's favored in this game. So, I'm going to have to go with UCF for everything that Austin just said right there.
Agreed. UCF across the board. Scott Frost back in UCF, where he's had so much success, and it looks like he's picking right up where he left off previously. So as we go to our next matchup, you have the Cincinnati Bearcats headed to Lawrence to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Cincinnati is 2-1. Kansas is 3-1. Both teams coming off a win. Cincinnati beating Northwestern State 70-0. Kansas beating West Virginia 41-10. Spread of this game currently sitting at 4.5 in favor of Kansas.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas. Cincinnati, whenever Fickle left Cincinnati, they just haven't been the same. And the thing is, Luke Fickle hasn't done very good at Wisconsin either. So I feel like they just need to get back together so they can be a pretty good team now that they're in the Big 12 anyway. Kansas looks decent. So I'm going to pick the Jayhawks with this one.
Yeah, Cincinnati hadn't been the same since they came to Fayetteville. and learned something real quick.
Did
So
they need new chin straps?
Yeah, for real. I forgot about that.
oh man, but yeah, I like Kansas. I like their offense and their running back and quarterback. So I'm going to go with Kansas.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas as well. They took Missouri to the it seemed to the limit a few weeks ago. Almost had that win over Missouri, and yeah, Cincinnati just not the same since Fickle left and took that job at Wisconsin. So Jayhawks take this one. Next up, we got Louisville 3-0, Pittsburgh 2-1. You know, undefeated Louisville coming off a win against Bowling Green 40-17. Pitt coming off that loss in overtime to 31-24 to West Virginia. The rivalry game there. The spread at this game is setting at 4.5 in favor of Louisville, who is the road team in this one. This is in Pittsburgh. 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN2. Who you guys got?
I think Louisville. I feel like Louisville's the third best team in the ACC right now. Especially since, heck, they may be number 2, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't think Pitt really has a chance. They're not looking as nearly as good as they were last year. Eli Stein has kind of not been my favorite quarterback, even though he was one of my favorite last year. So, yeah, going with the Cardinals.
To me, this is more of a coin flip than it is a blowout. So I'm going to go with the home team in Pittsburgh.
Okay. I'm going to round out and fall on the side of Louisville. They're 3-0. You know, Pittsburgh just hasn't been the same. They've struggled this season. You know, they blew a lead last week against West Virginia and fell in overtime. So give me the Louisville Cardinal in this one. As we continue on, one of the more premier of the couple matchups in the SEC, kind of a prove it to you game. LSU is hitting the road and heading to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. Another test for this LSU team that is undefeated, but you look at their schedule, competition doesn't blow you away. Both teams undefeated. LSU coming off a 56-10 victory over Southeastern Louisiana. Ole Miss coming off a victory against Tulane 45-10. Spread for this game, 1.5 in favor of Ole Miss.
Yeah, I might surprise you because I'm picking Ole Miss. LSU's offense, although they put up 55 against whoever school that was, they're just not good. Not nearly as good as they were last year, especially whenever what's his name? Forgot his name. The Heisman winner. Yeah, Ole Miss, they just have a prolific offense. They're always going to have one, and I don't think LSU's defense is that great. It's still not a quintessential LSU defense that you would think of when you think of the Bengals, or the Tigers. So yeah, I'm just going to go Ole Miss. I think it'll be close, probably that 1-2 point spread, and but I think it'll be a good show.
Yeah, this is another one of those games that I wouldn't watch if it was playing right outside here. Because I could care less for either two, and I just see nothing but ugliness on my screen when I watch these two teams play. So I'll go Ole Miss because they're at home, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You look at this, and Brian Kelly struggled some, and his offenses looked not great at times. They went down to the wire with a struggling Clemson team. Ole Miss, they might not necessarily have the best defense, but they have an offense that's prolific and can score. And, with this being a 2:30 kickoff, being on the road in the SEC, it's hard to pick against Kiffin. So, I think Ole Miss takes the win here and maybe puts to sleep some of the talk about LSU being a national championship team. Next matchup we got here is the matchup of College Game Day. surprised they're going here a little bit, but the 4-0 Oregon Ducks taking on the 3-0 Penn State Nittany Lions in Beaver Stadium in Pennsylvania, Happy Valley. Both these teams, Oregon coming off the victory 41-7 over Oregon State. Penn State coming off the victory 52-6 against Villanova. Spread for this game is set at 3.5 in favor of the home team, Penn State. What do you guys think?
First of all, I always forget Villanova has a football team, so that always
Agreed.
surprises me when I see those. Secondly, it is a good, if not great, Penn State team at home at night with a whiteout. I don't see it. Penn State over Oregon. I saw a lot of Oregon fans and some I don't know if journalists were out there doing it, but at least Oregon fans making fun of the whiteout. I'm like, y'all need to cool your jets, because that is one of the things I want to experience before I die. And I don't give a crap about Penn State whatsoever, but I want to go to one of those games.
So this right here is the best game yet this college football season. This is going to be a phenomenal football game. I think these two are two of the best teams in the country, if not the two best, in my opinion. So I think Oregon finds a way to win it. So that I'm going with Oregon.
I was about to say, I'm going to agree with you here, Hobbs. Give me the Ducks. You've seen what Dante Moore has done so far this season. 962 passing yards, 11 touchdowns to 1 interception. Drew Aller, only four passing touchdowns so far this season. You've seen the speed, the weapons that Oregon comes in with, historically that Pac-12 offense where they're just going to come out and outscore you. They still have that type of offense. We've seen them come close last year. And like Hobbs said, I think they find a way to get this done on the road in Happy Valley. Even though it is a whiteout in Penn State, that's a tough place to play sometimes at night. I think the Ducks find out a way to get it done in a great uniform combo. Next game up is another big-time game in the SEC. Here recently has become a back-and-forth historical matchup between these two schools. The Alabama Crimson Tide headed to Athens, Georgia, to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Both Alabama 2-1, coming off a win against Wisconsin 38-14. Georgia coming off that 44-41 overtime victory over Tennessee. Spread for this game, 3.5 in favor of the Bulldogs. Who you got? This isn't your traditional Alabama team led by Nick Saban. Does DeBoer continue to progress here, or does he just keep the fumes and flames going for his hot seat?
Yeah, someone just adds another log to the hot seat because he ain't doing it against Georgia. Not at Georgia, not after last season, how that ended. Kirby Smart's got to have something drawn up because there ain't no way that's happening again. Pretty much Ryan Williams beat Georgia last year. You don't think that Kirby Smart, being a defensive guy, is going to come out with a game plan to stop him? You're silly. So, yeah, Georgia all the way.
Yeah, all I can think about picking this game is how bad Florida State just beat the brakes off of Alabama. And so it's hard for me to just pick Alabama at all after that. And they really hadn't played anybody since then. Georgia hadn't looked great either until they won a shootout against Tennessee. So, yeah, definitely going Georgia in this one.
Yeah. And what's interesting, too, is Ryan Williams isn't even Alabama's leading receiver this season. So, I'm the same sentiment as you guys. Give me the Dogs in this one to take care of business and throw another log under that fire that is under Kalen DeBoer's seat. It's going to be another fun one to watch. As we wrap up here, final game to pick here, the number 25 ranked undefeated BYU Cougars are headed to Boulder to take on Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes at 2-2. Undefeated BYU, they're coming off victory against East Carolina 34-13. Colorado coming off a win 37-20 over Wyoming. Spread for this game, 6.5 in favor of the road team, BYU.
Yeah, BYU. I mean, Colorado's not good. When you don't have Travis Hunter out there, and you don't have, as far, even though I don't think Shedeur was all that great, their quarterback now isn't as good as Shedeur Sanders was. So, yeah, BYU all the way, probably by 2 touchdowns, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm never picking Colorado against a ranked team. Not doing it. They have not proven that they can beat anybody with a pulse. So, yeah, BYU by a lot.
Not to mention with this Colorado team, it seems like it's the revolving door starting quarterbacks as well. They can't pick one and stick to it. Prime struggling to find a kid that's going to replace Shedeur and, be your quarterback. Not saying those are high standards at all, but, it's, BYU has really come into its own as a program with their coach, what they've been able to do. But yeah, like Hobbs said, give me BYU big on the road, ranked team. So it's all the picks for this week. So we'll see how we fare on Saturday. Not too many differentiating picks, but we'll see where we all shake out on Sunday. So as we'll get ready to wrap up here, again, kickoff 11 a.m. Saturday in Fayetteville on ABC. Maybe Arkansas can do something. We'll see. Not the most confidence right now in Northwest Arkansas or for Razorback fans, but we'll see what happens. Anything you guys got before we decide to wrap up and get out of here?
No, sir. That was it.
Awesome. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. Don't forget to, go follow our pages across social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, as well as over on Blue Sky. We'll be back here on Sunday for our Razor recap show. It is a little different doing this on Wednesday night, but, here we are. And, everybody, it's middle of the week. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see what happens on Saturday. Hopefully the Hawgs come out with a victory. And, we have a fun show on Sunday. But, if not, we'll see. We'll still be back here. So everybody have a great weekend. And we're going to get out here, and we'll see you on Sunday.